What's up, guys? Today we're talking about why do we deload. And so what happens is in a traditional loading setup where we're training, we have a couple of blocks. For example, we might have block 1 right here, 2 right here, 3 right here, and 4 right here. And what happens is during these blocks, we want to increase loading. So loading is represented by this black line here. And so as someone loads more and more, and this line goes up, we have higher and higher level stress on the body. And this is trying to create adaptation. This is why we do this. Now, this applied stressor is there for a reason, but during times like this in block 2, where it's highly strenuous, the body needs time to recover. And a way we can think about this is similar to that of a bucket of water, like we see here. Now, this bucket of water is something like our internal system. Our internal system, for example, the tipping point, helps us determine whether or not we're going to successfully adapt to a stressor. And because our body has to catch up to the stressor itself, we need to apply an adaptive stressor like in block 2 and block 1, but then we need to give it time to recover like we see in block 3, hence the dip. Now that's what we call our deload portion right there. And this block is when we reduce volume, and there's a key reason why we do that. So I'm going to give you an example down below here. Imagine that this line right here is this black line coming across is our baseline homeostatic norm. So when we're doing just fine, like say in block 1, we have minimal amounts of perturbations up and down, but there's not much deviation from the norm. However, in block 2, as the exercise, the stress starts to grow and becomes more strenuous, we start to get closer and closer to what we call our thresholds. And our thresholds are dotted by that green line. And what we see here is we're nearing right here and here, almost at the end of our threshold of how our system, our body as a whole, can handle the stressor. Just like the bucket of water, we're trying to not cause water to spill out of it. So imagine a cup of water. Imagine you're taking it, you're swirling it around. You only want to swirl it so much so you can stir it up, but you don't want to swirl it so much that it spills out of the water bottle. So now we go into our deload. I'm drawing probably a little green right here. Our deload block. And now we start to see this stressor begin to recover, and we come back to baseline here. And then we start all over again, and we apply another stressor because during this time period, our body has recovered theoretically. And we can apply now a larger stressor, and we start to build back up again. What you see here is this loading scheme that we see block 1, block 2, block 3, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is all based on a theoretical model of how our physiology is going to react. Now, we think that at times, if we stress the body a lot, and I say think because it's near impossible to predict the future, but we need time to recover. And that is where we have this period right here is that recovery time, allowing our body to return back to theoretical homeostasis, allowing us to adapt and then handle a new stressor. This repeated over and over again allows us to create systemic adaptations over a long period of time. If we just decided to take this, our loading, and I'll draw a line through it all. We decided to take our loading and just for some odd reason, I'm not sure why you would do this, go straight up and not stop and go straight to the top. Well, you're going to have high levels of perturbations, and eventually you'll be beyond the thresholds here and here. And it'll be so large that you could increase your likelihood for things like overtraining. And this is something that is acutely not very good and also chronically cause some issue, but you can increase your likelihood of possibly injury. And again, burnout or other physiological, psychological problems that come about with excessive amounts of load. And so this is why we deload. We deload to give the body a break, a chance to adapt to the previous stressor. We repeat this over and over again to create a systemic adaptation that allows us to handle stressors over a period of time without having to incur injury or overtraining. So our recovery has to be proportional to our training. The more we load and the closer we get to those thresholds of a tipping point, the more likely we have to pull it back and start to make sure that we have a deload to allow our body to catch up and adapt. That is why we deload. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. If you have comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.